The Thunder are being forced into an impossible decision, a one or the other situation with two key guys. Cason Wallace and Lu Dort are both bloodhounds on the perimeter. Both have spent all their NBA time in OKC, but both guys have contracts set to run out after the 2027 season. With the bank-breaking Big Three deals from earlier this summer, signs are pointing towards one of these two defensive menaces making a home elsewhere come contract negotiation time. We're going to get into why this is exactly. We're going to get into what these two guys have done in their time in OKC and what I foresee happening with this next season, getting this done. But before we get into all that, real quick, just want to say what's going on, guys. Gabriel Ebersole here with Thunder Digest. We have hit our goal of 6,000 subscribers. 68% of you guys watching, though, not subscribed to the channel. Thunder won a franchise record 68 games and a championship last year. Before they go try to defend it next season, me and Bryson got to keep you guys up to date with all offseason news. I'm talking trades, signings, free agency, hopefully no more injuries, but everything OKC basketball, all in one spot, all on time here for you. Make sure you're subbed up so you stay up to date. Without any further ado, let's get into the topic of today's video. And we're talking about the Thunder have a painfully obvious trade to make if they re-sign Lu Dort. Now, this team has no shortage of moves being made this offseason. We saw them sign 5 guys to extensions this offseason. We're talking about the 2022 draft class of J. Will, J. Dub, and Chet, talking about SGA's extension, and we're talking about AJ Mitchell also extending with the team. That's the bulk of this team's moves this offseason. But one thing that's flying under the radar is the fact that Lu Dort is eligible for an extension this offseason, and he hasn't signed it yet. The reason why that is because the way that his contract runs out in a few years here, it's going to run out the same time as another very important member of this team. Let's get into all the intricacies of this. So first, taking a look. In this new era of crippling tax penalties, NBA teams are forced to make harsh decisions about how they choose to spend their money. For the OKC Thunder, next summer, they'll be met with the devastating choice of committing to either Lu Dort or Cason Wallace for the long haul, not both. And this is the reality of the situation because these guys do two of the top perimeter defenders in the league, but they occupy a lot of the same overlapping role for this specific team. This is 2 guys in 2 different frames of their career. One guy who is just getting started, one guy who has developed and carved out a role in the starting lineup here. And we're going to use this year to play out and just see which player looks better moving forward for this roster. That's what my guess is Sam Presti is going to do. That's why Dort hasn't been inked to an extension. That's why Wallace hasn't been traded. We're waiting to see how this plays out. But at the end of the day, a decision will be made between these 2 guys because these 2 players are 20 million plus players for sure. With the big three members signing their extensions this year, that's we're taking a look at where the money's gone. $822 million spent this offseason between the big 3 of SGA, Chet Holmgren, and J-Dub, all receiving max extensions. 5-year contracts for Chet and Dub, max rookie extensions, and then SGA with the 4-year, $287 million deal that he got that will kick in 2 years' time. This is tying up a lot of the team's money, obviously, into this big 3 core. We're keeping the core around this time for the big 3, and we're going to run it through the rest of this decade. But this is going to leave short-term money, should I say, for the role players because we're taking a look at these guys' contracts. You see the 2026-27 season. Lu Dort, his last inked year is that year, and so is Cason Wallace at the bottom there. Both of them are going to be in the red boxes. And then after that, you see unrestricted free agent for Lu Dort, restricted free agent for Cason Wallace, which just means that they can match any offer given by another team. Now, these guys, we're taking a look at 2 very good players. We're taking a look first at Lu Dort, a guy who played 30 minutes a game last year. Where does he impact this team the most? Talking about a guy who contributes 10 points a game on important shooting for this team, a team that doesn't have a lot of consistent shooters. Lu Dort was a guy who was hitting the 3 ball very well. He was a guy who 70% of all of his shots are threes, 96% of his threes are assisted, and this guy shoots 41% from the 3-point line. He knocks them down at a good clip. When you're taking into account that 70% of his shots are threes, a 43.5 field goal percentage isn't that bad. He's hitting 41% from behind the arc, the main thing he's asked to do. On top of that, this guy, my pick for Depoy, he should have been a finalist at the very least. He ended up finishing 4th in the voting, and he was a first-team All-NBA defender. We've been known about the torture chamber as fans. We've seen him putting the best offensive players in the game under lock and key, and that is something he's able to bring to this team night in, night out. Consistency defensively, and he is the poster child for a 3-and-D wing. He's able to take the opportunities gifted to him from SGA, from Dub, the shot creators, and he's able to hit the three at a very consistent clip. Taking a look at Cason Wallace, his counterpart, a guy who played a very, very large sum of minutes, 28 minutes a game this season. He averaged 8.5 points a contest, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and he also is a very, very active defensive player. Not a guy who was in the Defensive Player of the Year running, but a guy who was 5th in deflections this year, a guy who is 6th in the league in steals at that 1.8 you see, a guy who is efficient when he chooses to shoot the ball, 48% from the field, 36% from the three-point line, and very young at that with a lot of the Thunder roster. This guy is 21 years old at this time. A lot of room to improve. He was just in his second year out of Kentucky. This is a guy who a lot of guys are very high on, including the rest of the league, which is a lot of the talks about him being traded, right? His value would be high if they decided to move him. So two very, very serviceable pieces that the Thunder are going to have to make a decision between, right? We're taking a look at whether it's them trying to avoid rotational redundancy or the simple act of cutting down on costs to duck the dreaded second apron while guys like SGA, J-Dub, Chet, and Alex Caruso see their new paydays kick in. If a Dort deal is signed, Wallace should automatically be seen as a shoo-in to be shipped out of the Sooner State as a result. They're saying here that if we see Dort ink this extension that he is eligible for right now at this very moment, if at any point in time that gets signed, then it means Cason Wallace is out the door. The decision has been made in the front office, behind closed doors, by Sam Presti and the higher-ups in the Thunder, that they're going to commit to Lu Dort, a guy who has played a very serviceable career so far for the Thunder. Let's not get it twisted. But that they are going to move on from Cason Wallace, a guy who was just drafted in the lottery in 2023, and exchange him probably for more picks because, you know, the roster already full. And like we saw, unless they're exchanging him for another bit, like a big option or something that they see Hart moving in the future, unless they're really trying to play a long-term chess game, it's probably going to be for more draft capital, which is insane to think about for a team that has as many assets. But nonetheless, let's continue. While spending big on stars has cost other teams around the league flexibility, that won't be the case for the Thunder. Per ESPN's Bobby Marks, the team is projected to be over the first and second apron in 2026-27 with a projected payroll of $246 million. But $77 million in non-guaranteed contracts gives OKC the freedom to surround its big three with talented role players. Talented role players are what helped bring this championship, the Larry O'Brien, to Oklahoma City in the first place, right? We don't have the depth to go 7 games with the Pacers or the Nuggets. We don't have that deep roster to get us all these wins in the regular season to secure that home court advantage. Depth wins games. Even in the playoffs where the benches run thinner, depth makes a huge difference. And the Thunder, and being able to retain the depth and retaining the right pieces, the key pieces, and moving forward seamlessly, this is going to be a big part in it. And it's the first really big decision I think that this squad is going to have to make moving forward after, you know, with championship aspirations and big contracts and having to pay the luxury tax. As a big market team, the Thunder must choose between paying Lu Dort or Cason Wallace. Though Dort is technically already eligible to sign an extension this summer, as we talked about, as he's now beyond 3 years into his 5-year, $82.5 million deal, sources believe the Thunder will refrain from negotiations and instead let this upcoming campaign serve as time for both him and Wallace to prove who's more worthy of being retained. Something that I don't have a problem with at all. I think this is a very good way to do it, for this specifically, is to hold it off and let them play their values up, let them decide who is a better fit for this team moving forward, right? Because I think personally right now, I like Dort's shooting, and I think that plays it should play a big factor in the decision-making at this moment. However, that's for the current roster construction. With a year's time, maybe we're trying to move Uzma and Jang at the trade deadline, and we're picking up a shooter. Maybe we're doing something to that regard, and we're filling that somewhere else, and they're more comfortable taking Cason Wallace. So giving themselves more time to address needs in other ways, I don't have a problem with. I think it's smart, and I do think that's what Sam Presti is planning on doing, waiting to see what he has. But at the end of the day, the decision is going to be made between two very core players, a guy like Lu Dort and a guy like Cason Wallace. Cason Wallace, the 10th overall pick just 2 years ago for this team, He's an NBA champion with his team and was a key contributor. He started in the finals, which proves that the guys up top, Coach Daigneault, believe in him and what he can do on the court and believe in his trajectory as a player at the end of the day. And comparing him to Lu Dort, 6 seasons in OKC, a guy who was a 17-point-per-game scorer in pretty much the slum days of the Thunder between whenever the Chris Paul left and in the bubble, and we had a little bit of glory, and then back to where we are now as the 1 seed. Those few years in between, Lu Dort took on a bigger scoring role. He was still at defensive stopper, and throughout this entire time, consistently increasing his 3-ball and getting better. A decision is going to be made. It's not going to be easy either way. One of the beloved is going to have to go, an NBA champion for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and when that time comes, like it is going to hurt. And it's a tough decision that the Thunder are being forced with, an impossible one, some might say. This has been Gabriel Ebersole with Thunder Digest. Let me know in the comments right now if you had to pick which of these 2 guys you would ink to an extension. We're asking the heavy questions today. And make sure you're subbed up so you can catch us in the next one. Make sure you can help us hit 8K subs by the tip-off of next season against the Houston Rockets. This has been Gabriel Ebersole with Thunder Digest. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.